All right. Hello, everybody. Let's shift gears and we go to administration. My name is Roman. I'm the engineering manager of the control plane team, and we are part of the Business Central platform, responsible for environment management and administration and many other things. And with me today, I have my colleague.
Hi everyone, my name is Vesa. I'm a software engineer in the control plane team, working together with Roman. It's my first time here at BC TechDays, and I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. So in this session, we're going to build on top of what I showed last year. Um, If you have attended the session last year, I hope it gave you some ideas and inspiration how you can automate your admin flows. If you haven't attended it, or if you want to look again in a bit more detail of how to do the setup that we're going to show, you can actually check that recording out. It's on YouTube. But we'll start with a little recap. Um, and for this, I'll just start right away in the admin center. And now when you open it, you see the list of environments. And if we want to do automation, the first thing that you need to do, it's very important, you create an app, like an Entra app in your partner tenant, and you give it permission to access the Business Central admin API. And then you register it in the admin center on your customer tenants. And finally, you need to grant consent, and then that app can call the admin endpoint. You can see here, this is my app, my application client ID. I'm going to use that one later. The second thing I want to point out, and Torben also mentioned it, it's the telemetry side of things. So it's really useful to get insights into what's happening in your environment. Like you can do troubleshooting, you can query, like some of the examples Torben showed. But it's also super useful, for example, to get information about environment lifecycle events. So you need to create an application insights instance in your subscription, and then take your instrumentation key and register that on the environment of your customer tenant. So basically, if you register your app insights on all your customer environments, you can get all the environment lifecycle events for these environments and, for example, react to events or do the troubleshooting and analysis. So we have done that here. I set the key. And because we want to do automation, I have put that together in a logic app. I really like logic apps. I think they're super flexible and easy to build, and you can do a lot of things. So the idea here is that we have some periodic trigger, can be like a daily trigger or hourly, and we need some variables here to manage the responses. But then the first thing is we will query our application insights and look for updates, if there's any update available in any of the environments that we are monitoring. What is important here is the event ID. You can see here. We have extensive documentation of all the different events, their properties, when they get emitted, what they're for. And so now in this case, I query our application insights instance for this particular event ID, which means there's an update available. And then what I want to do, if there's any update available, I want to make a copy of my production environment. And the idea here is, so I copy that production environment into a sandbox, and then I update the sandbox to the new version and see, if the new version is good, everything works fine. And then afterwards, I can update my production environment as well. So to do that, I have 2 steps in parallel. So one, we set our production update into the future. That's a call to our admin API for the environment. And then I can say run on. I put the date now. And here we have a property. It's called ignore upgrade window. So what you need to know is this update window is set on every environment. We have a default based on in which country the environment is on. And we will run the updates inside that update window. And the idea is here that it should run outside of the business hours, right? Then we trigger our copy. So we make a copy of our production environment into a sandbox. So we call the production environment / copy and make a sandbox. And now for long-running operations, like a copy, so that can run for a couple of minutes, we check if the operation is accepted, and then do a little loop here. So check every minute, check the status of the operation. So every long-running operation that you trigger from the API, you will get like an operation ID. And then later on, you can check on the status of the operation ID to see when it's done. Yeah, so once the copy is done, so we check on the status of the operation. And then we query for the information on the copied environment, like the sandbox, right? So we go to our production copy, check if there's an update available. If we find that, then I'll schedule that sandbox to update immediately. And now the difference here is I put the run-on date as immediately, now, and say ignore the update window. So one of the things maybe we also notice sometimes is that if it's a long-running update, for example, and it's running inside the update window, we cancel it before it reaches the end of the update window so that we avoid having the environment unavailable then during business hours. If you say ignore here, we will ignore that as well, and it will just run as long until it's done. And then I like Teams, so I have set this up here to just send me a message in the chat saying, yeah, your sandbox environment has been scheduled for update. And the idea here is that this is running in the background automatically, making the copy, scheduling my my environment update, and then just when it's done, it tells me, hey, this is done.
Yeah, so I think this is a very convenient way of automating such a scenario using a logic app. But the flow that we see here, it is running only for one customer tenant, and we are passing the Entra tenant ID for that customer with every HTTP request. What if we wanted to have the flow run for all the customer tenants where the app is registered?
Yes, excellent question, right? So for this, actually, we have a new endpoint. We call it the discovery endpoint. And this will give you the list of all the tenants that your app is allowed to administer. So the ones that are manageable by your app, meaning they were granted access and they're registered in the admin center, like you have seen before. We have the documentation for that in the behind that link on the Microsoft Learn page. And essentially, this is a new endpoint here. There's also a new version, so it comes with version 2.24. It's the authorized AD apps / manageable tenants endpoint. And you pass the token of your app from one of the customer tenants to authorize. and then it will return you the list of all the tenants. So we can have a look. I have a little script here, how to do that. So first, I've connected here my Azure account. I ran this already. Then I'm using the msal.ps module. That's actually a really nice encapsulation of the Microsoft authentication libraries, really easy to use then from PowerShell. I have my client application ID, so that's the one that I have registered and authorized in my tenant. And then I want to get a token for the admin API, for the API. So if I run this, yeah, looks good. Now, I have put the secret that I need to get a token on behalf of the app. I put that into a key vault. So keep your secrets secret. And I use the AZ key vault module to read the secret from the key vault here. And let's try that. Yeah, looks good. And then let's get a token. So that's the service-to-service scenario. And we use a confidential client application builder, request that token. Also looks good. Then I'll put it into the header here. And I'll make a request to get the list of environments. So, and now I should see the same list of environments that we also get in the admin center. Yeah. One thing also to note, all the actions, operations, information you see in the admin center is backed by this admin API. And you can use the API also, all the operations. You can query, you can run operations. All of that is possible to automate. And like now we see the different properties, and yeah, we can work with that. So we can build now automation on top of this. So if I go back to my logic app, and so I have just put it here into a separate branch just for demo purposes to see how it looks like. Yeah, so here, again, I read the secret from Key Vault using a managed identity that is assigned to the logic app, and we call the new endpoint. So that's the new endpoint, manageable tenants. And then I think it's also very easy and nice, we can parse the response. So here we want to extract the list of Entra tenant IDs, and then do a loop over that. So for each of the Entra tenant IDs that we get, I'll get the list of environments. We parse that, so we extract the properties like we have seen. And now in this case, I want to get all the sandboxes. So do a check if the type of the environment is a sandbox. And then we can query here for available updates. So if I want to run this from my script, from PowerShell, we can do that. So yeah, we get the response. So in this case, I have registered my app in 2 different tenants. So my partner app now is registered in those 2 customer tenants. And I can more easily, basically, like we've seen in the automation process, all the different Entra tenants, go through the environments, and then do whatever operations I want to do. So for example, yesterday I got a question if it's possible to update an app in an environment or a list of apps at a particular point in time. So this would be possible. Let's say you have an app, maybe a list of apps, some dependent apps. You could make an automation that goes through all the Entra tenants that you have, and then you have the list of apps you want to update, and you can call that programmatically and update the apps, for example, at a certain point in time. If you set your trigger here, for example, at a particular point in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't really need to maintain a manual list of tenants or worrying whether it's up to date. So with the discovery endpoint, you will always have real-time and accurate data, which will make your automations more scalable and reliable.
Yes, exactly, right? So normally you would now have a list of your Entra tenants of your customers somewhere, and then you need to process that somehow. But in this way now it's more built in, and you can build the automation based on that. Yeah. So we talked about updates. And that brings me to the second big part here of this talk. It's the new flexible update management. And what is behind that? So the idea is we want to give you, our partners and customers, more flexibility when it comes to updating environments. And concretely, that means longer update period. So we're extending the update period to 5 months. And also, we give the possibility to skip minor updates. And why do we do that? And what's the idea behind? We know, like, we get the feedback. Some customers run like a 24/7 business, or for whatever reasons cannot or don't want to update as frequently. So with this, we want to address these needs of customers that are somewhat more update averse. And the second is also we know that sometimes it gets very busy for our partners, for you, around the major update cycle, and there's a lot of environments that need to go through the update. So we want to give you a bit more time to go through all the updates and basically spread out that workload. That's the idea. And so if we look at the update cycle, so the major update cycle, we will still have a preview period, so 30 days before the release of the new major version. You can create a new sandbox on the preview version and try out the new release. Then we will get into the update period, and now this one is 5 months. But we want to have a fixed end date. Right? So we often get requests for exceptions or extensions, but with this, we want to give more time. So with 5 months, we really believe that that should be enough time to update, and then that date should really be fixed. But if for whatever reason an environment hasn't been updated yet at the end of the update period, then we get into the grace period, and here we will try to do weekly updates on the environment. And you cannot postpone the update further, but for example, if you fix the problem that prevented the update, then you can say schedule now or update now, and it will go through. But then for those environments that still haven't updated, at the end of the grace period, then we get into the enforced update period. And here we will uninstall incompatible apps. So that could be a per tenant extension or some app that is not compatible, blocking the update. And we will uninstall that one. The data is still going to be there. So if the app is fixed, you can reinstall it. It will continue as it was before. It will work. But we need to do that to move with the updates forward. So for minor updates, we will still do the monthly cycle, like ship on a monthly basis every month. And the default scheduling is not changing. So if you follow the default schedule, your environments will still update every month. But you can opt out of that automatic scheduling. And you do that by selecting a target version for the update. We're going to show you how that looks like, how you do that. And then finally, also you can create environments on any supported version. That's also new. So if we put that on a timeline, so now all environments should have been updated to version 25 by now. And we're in the middle of the update period of the 26 release. So there's two important dates now to remember. There's September 1st and March 1st, because these are the days when the update period ends and the grace period starts. So September 1st, March 1st. And then for the fall release, version 27, that will be released in October, we will have a preview period, again, 30 days before the release, and then we will start the updates. Yeah. So with this, you will have 5 months to go to the next major release. How this will look like, we'll go through some examples in a moment. And this is available as of version 25.5. So if you have environments still on lower versions, you need to go through the minors until 25.5. And from there on, you will have the extended update periods. This also comes with some API changes. There's a new endpoint, a new version. I'll show you one of them in a moment. And also, I refer to the documentation on Microsoft Learn. We have documented the API, the calls, the responses, and also on the UI, we have released the changes just a few weeks ago. And so let's have a look, Vesa.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm just gonna switch here. Right. So this is the environments page in TAC. And as you can see, I have a few environments and they are all on different versions. The first thing I want to point out is that we have streamlined the information that we show here. So in the current version, you will see the version being displayed as major.minor. And then in the column here, you will be able to see which version the update is targeting and when is the update scheduled for. So I'm going to select the sandbox here, which is currently on version 25.2. And as Roman just mentioned, this version, we don't have the flexible update management changes. So we are only able to go from 25.2 to the very next version, which is 25.3. And I already have an update scheduled for version 25.3. We can also see here the start of the grace period or the date, the September 1st, 2025. And if I click on modify and click on the target versions, there's only one version that's available. So that's the one that we are already targeting. That's the one that's scheduled. And I can still change the update date. So I can select from the dates available and schedule the update to run. If I switch back to the environments page, and then we look at the production environment, so my production environment is on version 25.5, which means I can make use of the flexible update management changes. And you can see here that the latest available version is the 26.1 version. And I also have an update scheduled to version 26.1. So I am skipping version 26.0 and going straight to version 26.1. If I click on modify and expand the list of target versions, then there's a lot more versions that I can pick from. And I can pick any of the versions up to the .4 minor of the next major, which for this environment, that is version 26.4. So here, for the versions that are already available, they will show up as available, and the one that you have already selected or the one that you are targeting, that one will show up as scheduled. All the other versions that are the unavailable versions will show up as planned, and then you can also see the month and the year for when they are planned to be released. If I pick any of these, so one of the planned versions, then I am not able to pick an update date as of now, as we have this box here that also displays this information. So once the update is made available, we will automatically schedule the update for the environment within 2 weeks. And you will also receive a notification for that. So once the update is available, then you can go to TAC or through the API, you can change the date for the environment. So for this environment, the grace period is also starting on September 1st, 2025, because it's also on major version 25. And my last environment here is the sandbox environment. So this environment is already on the very latest available version, that is version 26.1. And for this one, I have picked version 27.0 as the target version. So I cannot pick a date for it yet, but if I expand the list of target versions, then I can see all the versions up to version 27.4 that I can pick for this environment. And of course, with the environment being on version 26, we also have the grace period starting on March 1st, 2026. So as we mentioned, these changes are available for environments on version 25.5 and higher, but they're also backwards compatible and they are optional. So if you don't want to change the schedule, the update schedule for your environments, then we will just continue scheduling the updates automatically with every minor and major release. So your environments will continue to be updated to the latest version as always. Do you want to add something to this part?
Yeah, so maybe to recap, the difference is now that there's not just one update available for an environment, but there are many, basically. They can be scheduled, they can be planned, they can be available. So that's a change. It's also a change in the API. So let's show you that. So if I go back to my script, I requested the list of environments, got the list of tenants, and now I can do a query against that new update endpoint. So this is the new one here from version 26, 2.26. And this is, like, you query for the application family, so Business Central, and then we actually want to do a loop over all the environments that we got in the previous call. And then for each environment, I want to get the list of updates. And then write that out in a nice format if there's any update available for each of the environments. So yeah, you can see the response is different. For the environment that's on 26.1, now we see a whole list in the same way as we saw in the UI. And we can see that Vesa has selected the 27.0. So this sandbox will be scheduled to update once the 27.0 is available. For the other one, the 25.5, we have selected the 26.1, but you can see that 26.0 and 26.1 are both available. So the way essentially to opt out of the automatic scheduling is that you pick a version in the future. You can see a bit more information here on the dates, on the time frame when these are available and when they can be scheduled. Yeah, and the last example here is that our sandbox that's behind on the older 25.2, it needs to go through the miners until 25.5, right? Yeah, but we have some more things
Yes.
to show, right?
There is one more thing that I want to show you in TAC. Because a couple of months ago, we released some updates to the apps page in Tenant Admin Center. So now just need to refresh my session. I'll go back to the sandbox. Right, so now in the apps page, you can see all installed apps. So you can see the global apps. I'm able to pick the dev extensions and you'll be able to see those, as well as the per tenant extensions. We have also made available the uninstall action directly from TAC, so you can now uninstall dev extensions, PTEs, and global apps. And you can just do that by clicking on uninstall, and you get some information about the app that you want to uninstall. If there are any dependent apps for the app that you want to uninstall, then you will get these uninstall requirements, because it's important that the dependent apps are uninstalled together with the root app in order to avoid any breaking changes. So you have all of that information here, and then same as you have the option in the extension management page, you can also delete the application data. You can choose to delete the application data together with the uninstall request. So once you click on uninstall, you will just have a confirmation dialog together with the 2 acknowledgement statements. And once you select those, you can just click yes, and you would proceed with uninstalling the app. So for the PTEs, right now the uninstall action is the only action that we have available in TAC. So the install and the update functionality is still only in the extension management page from inside the product. But we are working on designing a way so that we can bring the uninstall and the update for PTEs to TAC as well. That is all I wanted to show you today. Is there anything I might have missed?
Yeah, we have some bonus content as well. So yeah, because you guys are here, we want to show you some insights behind the scenes, things that we are working on. So I cannot actually show you the features yet, but I want to tell you that this is stuff that we want to do, that we have in our plans. First is a connector for the admin API, like a Power Automate connector. So that will make the building of logic apps much easier. So then you don't have to use HTTP requests, build them yourself, but the actions will be native inside the connector. And it will also allow you to use, for example, Copilot Studio. Also, we know sometimes apps don't compile on a new version, and so we run these app validation runs against the next release versions of BC, but we don't surface that yet in the admin center. So we are also planning on bringing that in, so that when you're in the admin center and you want to schedule an update, you can see right away if there's any extensions that are not compatible. And finally, the preview period, right? The 30 days before the new major release. Currently, you can only create a new sandbox on that new preview version, but we want to enable the possibility that you can take your own sandbox and update that to the preview version and try out with that. And together with that, we're also looking at longer preview periods to have more versions actually available to preview. Yeah. So that will bring us to the end of the session. So there's a couple of takeaways I want to leave you with here. So the new flexibility, use it when you need it. Ideally, we would like to have all environments on the latest version all the time, but we recognize that for different reasons it's not always possible. So we want to give you that flexibility. But yeah, use it when needed. Otherwise, the default schedule will make sure that we'll keep your environments up to date. Use the new discovery endpoint. We hope it's useful, and give us feedback. So we're really happy to hear feedback, both positive and new requests or things that don't work for you. So give us feedback. And the best way to do that is Yammer. So check out aka.ms/bc Yammer. But we will also stick around after the session and we'll be at the booth if you have any other questions, or just reach out to us directly. Yeah, with that, actually we can do a little Q&A, and I see some hands up. Awesome. Here, yes.
I have a shot, so I don't need a shot. One question: if I install the Entra app in the beginning on the tenant of the client,
Yeah.
so I have to do it in the client Azure. For each client, I have to install this, or can I have it, if I have an admin relationship, only make it globally for all my clients?
Yes, so it's a security requirement, and also by design that you actually, in fact, need to go and register it for each and every tenant, and your customer, so an admin in the customer tenant, need to grant the consent so that you can access their data and their APIs, so that you can act on behalf of their.
And every 180 days, I have to update the secret, or how?
No. You don't need to. No, you don't need to rotate or change any secret. Yeah. So the best way to use the, for example, the Logic app is to have a managed identity and give that permission to authenticate as your app, and then you don't need to work with a secret. The secret, I used it here only for that script, that local script. Yeah. Do you want a T-shirt?
I have already.
You have one. All right. Here. Up.
Would the update time, if you go from 25.5 to 26.4, for instance, be significantly longer than if you go from 25.5 to 26.0? Or would it be roughly the same?
Oof, this is a difficult question. So if the update time would be different.
Yeah, so the update has to be made available for you to be able to schedule it. And we released the .5 minor that collides with the start of the grace period, depending on which version you are. So I don't think there's like a big change if you want to go from 25.5 to 26.5, because the version needs to be available already.
Yeah. But did you mean the execution time?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
runtime
How
of the
long
update?
will the environment be unavailable for? Would that change?
I think this is really hard to to answer.
I will need to experiment then.
The changes are cumulative. So let's say you update to 25.3. So that version will include all the changes from 25.2, 25.0, any like previous version, the in-between versions, they will be included. So potentially it's longer, but probably not significantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want a T-shirt? Yes? Okay. Yeah, up. Oh, there's a question in the back. Oh, all the way in the back also. Or are you just stretching? You have a question, okay. But I'll go here first.
Thank you. It's more like a feature request. When copying environments, will it be possible to select a security group in advance instead of waiting the full copy?
Okay. So if we, like you copy the environment and you want to have the security group carried over?
Yes, for customer, we create different security group for the production and development environments. So it will be nice to be able to do that in advance instead of waiting, because it takes 10 minutes sometimes.
Yes, yes. And you do that through API?
No.
No, okay. But you could then, if you do it programmatically, you could call it afterwards when it's done and set that security group.
So with API, okay.
That would be one way, yeah. But okay, we'll take that. Yes, thank you. All right. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. In case an update failed, is the process different, or we still get an email with the error stack, and that's the only? Or is this part of this process improved in any case?
Okay, so you mean the new flexible update management, how that impacts if an update fails? So fundamentally, there's no change in that.
Will there any improvements or better overview of this? As far as I know, we only get an email from the system, and you get only the error stack. But is there a plan for more information?
Okay.
That will help us to fix this bug error.
Okay, I get it. Yes, so if you go in the admin center, we didn't show that, but there's an operations page. And for each update, there's an entry there. And there you will also see some more details on the update operation and the error message. And then also telemetry. The application insights telemetry can give you some more insights into what happened in the environment, yes. So those two places I would look in addition to what you get in the email. Yeah. So especially the telemetry should be more helpful.
Just a tiny curiosity. Currently, for example, if a mistake happens and a company gets deleted from within an environment, the only option that I've got is to restore the environment. Are we thinking of maybe getting something in place? So instead of doing the whole restoration, to get back to restore just the company within the environment?
Okay, so if one company gets deleted, how to restore that? Yeah, so we currently only have that on the entire environment level. So you would need to restore, point in time, restore the entire environment. And then, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yeah. What we have seen sometimes is that the people do a restore and then take that copy, that restored environment, and only take the data that got lost for whatever reason and copy that back into the production environment. But that's maybe a bit more difficult depending on what happened. Yeah, but that we have seen that as a way to work around this. Because the point-in-time restore creates a second environment, like a copy, and then you can extract whatever you need from that. Yeah, good. Do we have another T-shirt to give away? Yes?
I can go,
okay.
yeah.
Was there any other question? I think we're otherwise out of time. Well, yes.
Hi, thank you. In the admin center, under capacity, we have that ratio from 1 production environment to 3 sandboxes.
Yes.
Is that something that's gonna be? Can we change that somehow instead of just having to buy an additional production environment to get 3 more sandboxes? Sometimes we have a sandbox, we do for some troubleshooting. Then
Yeah.
we need to do programmatically some update tests, and then we can quickly run out of sandboxes.
Yeah. So you can. Good question. Yes.
Really good.
Yeah. So you can buy additional environments. They're not cheap, you know. Yeah, and we do get these questions, and we get that feedback. But I mean, currently, I can't tell anything about that we are changing that. But that's a question for our licensing folks. Yeah, 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 yeah. But you can also get this partner sandbox if you are a partner. So those are cheaper, right? So that could be a way if you need more sandboxes to use that partner.
Tenant, not in the customer's tenant.
Yeah. Yes.
And the question is it possible sometimes is it possible to buy additional sandboxes, not additional environments with 3 sandboxes and 1 productive system? This was the question.
Yeah, I'll pass that feedback back. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, currently you would have to buy, and I can't share any plans that any changes are done to that. Yeah. All right. We're out of time, but one more question, and then that's the last question. Here you go.
Is it possible if you have an authorized app in the admin center of a tenant that is no longer available to log in, to remove that app registration? So we have for some experiments added a demo tenant the app registration. Right now the demo tenant is not longer available, but we see the app registration is still available, and we cannot delete it because you need to have you need to sign in as a user to remove it.
Mm-hmm. Do you see that in the API in the description?
The manageable tenants, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I am not sure, but it might be possible to do it through the Azure portal. Have you checked that?
Yeah, the tenant is removed, so I don't think it's existing
Yes,
anymore.
but from your side, so from the partner tenant, if you can see whether, so on which customer tenants it has been granted access to, and whether you can remove it from there.
Yeah, but we don't have access to the tenant anymore. So if we get a list of the manageable tenants, it's still present, but the tenant does not exist anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll have a look at that. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is the question clear? Yes.
Hmm?
Is the question clear?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. So we'll have a look at that. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. So that's it. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.